Running an online business requires passion, knowledge, and a lot of dedication. Adding the complexities of setting up and managing hosting for your website piles on more work when you already have so many plates spinning. Whether you manage one WordPress website or dozens, Kinsta's managed solutions give you access to a platform that's optimized for the fastest speed, has enterprise-grade security features, and is powered by an intuitive custom dashboard with everything you need to manage your sites efficiently. Plus, Kinsta provides human-only WordPress expert support, which is available 24/7, 365 to assist with even the most complex sites. Forget frustrating AI chatbots. Kinsta gives you complete peace of mind by ensuring that your WordPress sites are always online, secure, and performing at their best. Start your journey with Kinsta today and get your first month free. Don't have time to migrate your site? Kinsta takes care of everything for you. Learn more at kinsta.com/podcast. That's KINSTA.com/podcast.
Feeling the collective energy, we're feeling that we need to be kinder to each other, that it can go in a second, and let's get more aligned with our values. Because if we're all going to die, which we are, you might as well be doing what you like to do. Otherwise, what are you wasting your time for?
Welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast, brought to you by AmpCoil. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel, and on this show we discuss the common thread survivors share after walking through the fire, the practitioners making a difference, and the treatment modalities that deliver healing back into the hands of the people who need it most. Witness the inspiration we gain by navigating the human experience with grace, humility, and a healthy dose of mistakes. Because part of being human is being beautifully broken. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I am your host, Freddie Kimmel. We are here with the lovely Danielle Paige, all the way from LA. How you doing today, Danielle?
Now I feel amazing. Let's say that. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm cherishing Mondays lately. Monday hits and it's like I have this huge list and it's overwhelming, and I meet it with a little bit of fear, but I've been embracing the newness of Mondays and like this fresh palette. You know, we have Saturday, Sunday to wipe the slate clean a little bit and attack the week with new vision. And so that's kind of been my 2020 mantra, and it's been really working for me. Beautiful. How's your Monday going?
Mondays for me are always a little slower. I think I have all the ideas in my head, but it is actually ruled by the moon. And once I found that out, that made so much sense, because I'm like, I'm not actually in that flow yet, but I'm getting all the ideas and I'm just sitting in the juiciness of it. So I live my life off my intuition. So, but it's good besides that.
Beautiful. So for people that are new to the podcast or our standard listening crew, we have a very special expert here in the field of astrology. That's why we have Danielle on. And I wonder if you couldn't tell people what your passion is as far as the work that drives your life.
It's really helping people connect back to their soul and their heart so that they could find their purpose. I always say I'm an astrologer, but I really use astrology as a tool. And then I'm a channel, just like you're a channel for the divine, and we can use it in different ways. So, but what astrology does for me is really help me tap into people's soul, and then I can see their rhythm. I can see their gifts. Maybe there's some of their stumbling blocks, and ultimately connect them back to their soul. So the more you know yourself, the easier life is going to be. Not easy, but easier.
And what guided you to this? The use of the celestial patterns, the stars, the rhythm of the moon, to help identify patterns in the human body. There must have been an in for you at some point.
There was a huge in, and there was a huge turning point in my life. I'll first say, if you would have told me years ago, I guess before 30, that I would have been doing this, I would have thought you were crazy. I would have not even understood what that even meant. And I probably would have laughed and just went about my life. So when I turned 30, which is something called your Saturn return, it's basically in a nutshell, Saturn returns to the placement it was in your birth chart. And Saturn is about your discipline and your structure and your responsibility of why you're here on Earth, in a nutshell. And we all go through turmoil in some way. Sometimes it is beautiful in the sense people get married, people have a baby, and sometimes it's relationships end. So for me, I was just turned 30. I went to France with my boyfriend at the time. And on my 30th birthday, he broke up with me in France. And that was shocking, to say the least. Didn't see that coming. And so what happened was I was living in Boston at the time with him, and we went back to Boston. And I was living with him, so I had to move out. And I was doing actually interior architecture. That's what my background's in. I have a master's in that. So I spent many years studying this, which I'll get to. I'll connect the dots in a moment. And but I wasn't happy at all. I just, I was drawing urinals in bathrooms of hospitals and working with the engineers. And, that's very important. Someone needs to do it, but it just wasn't for me. So I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I just knew that this was not my path. And I kept saying I need to help people. But at that point, I had absolutely no clue what that even meant. And so I moved back home to California at 30 years old, crying over my breakup. That's when the economy tanked. So there were no design jobs at all. Anyone I knew that was a designer or architect was getting laid off. Everyone was moving back home with their family. That was the thing to do with the economy that was so bad. I felt like I was hitting an all-time low. And, I was at some point in my life, but that needs to happen because unbeknownst to me, the universe had other plans. And it was great that I was with my family. It helped me rekindle and work on our relationship because I haven't lived with them since I was 18. And then I started having a spiritual awakening. And at the time, I couldn't have told you it was a spiritual awakening because I did not know what was happening. I just thought I was going crazy, honestly. Like that's the truth of it. I thought I was going crazy. It was very scary. And not scary because anything was happening to me, but scary because it was foreign to me. And I didn't have any words to describe it. So I started having dreams that started telling me things, and then I would see it during the day, and it was almost like Twilight Zone, deja vu. What, so it was starting with that, and then I started realizing there's something going on here, right? So that's when it started perking up. And then, of course, Spirit's putting information into me, but I don't know that that's happening. And then I wake up in the middle of the night. This is the real, and I don't hold back from anything. I'm just very honest and very blunt. I woke up in the middle of the night and with my eyes open, seeing spirits in front of me. And that was very frightening because I didn't grow up seeing spirits at all. And I thought I was losing my mind. And I actually, at one point, almost told my parents that I think I need help because I didn't understand. Like, I thought I was actually having a psychotic breakdown. And I realized, if I was having a psychotic breakdown of some sort, I don't think I would have the hindsight and the clarity to think that I know I look crazy. I hate to use that word, but I don't know another word to describe it. I wouldn't have the hindsight that I know I appear to be crazy. And I know this sounds nuts, but this is what's happening. If you're really in that moment, you're just going with it. You're not even having the perspective that this looks strange to people, or this might be odd, right? There's something going on here. So then I'm like, no, actually, what's happening is real. And then so I kind of just dove in and I was led and I started meditating, even though I didn't know what that was. And I would sit down for an hour at a time and just have to almost set my alarm clock because I would just be carried away. Not really carried away. I have to be careful with my words these days.
Sure.
So then I started just connecting to my soul, didn't know at the time, and started being guided. And I was on a very strict path. And then basically I started realizing that I have some gifts. And we all have gifts. I just didn't know I had them. I was blind, right? I was blind. They were hidden and they started coming out. And so I started realizing I'm very intuitive, very psychic. I'm very in tune and there's something here. And I started saying, I really need to help people with this. It's funny. I actually went to the library. I picked up a book on, it was Sylvia Brown. I think that's her name. She's like a psychic years ago. And without even thinking, I held the book and I said, oh my God, this is what I want to do. And then I remember coming back and being like, what? And I dropped the book and I'm like, I want to be a psychic. What am I crazy? Like, because then like my ego got in the way and I'm like, what am I saying? But I remember that moment. So I was, connecting and things were changing in my life. And then I was working at this is what's really interesting. Everything happens for a reason. I was working at this horrible job. I was doing property management. And I say horrible because where I worked, it was horrible. They would only come in the office to yell at us, and we would have to have security guards outside because they were getting so violent. Okay. So it was crazy. And here I am, an empath, but not knowing I'm an empath, like having to dodge people throwing things at me. I'm like, this is not working. But I'm at this job, and the IT guy there, we became friends. We went out to dinner one night, and he said to me, do you want me to read your birth chart? And I'm like, oh, what's that? And he's like, astrology. And I'm like, okay. I'm just like, I'm a Taurus. I thought it was horoscopes. I didn't know anything else. And so he read my chart, and I'm like, this is amazing because you don't actually know me, but yet you just told me a lot of things about who I am. So I went home that night, started Googling like we all do. And I basically never stopped. I did it till the sun came up, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And it actually started with me figuring out my birth chart to understand myself. And then I'm like, I have to do this for people. And then it just grew into there. And it's like, I don't limit myself with astrology because that's just one tool, but it's all connected. Energy, sound healing, astrology, intuition, mediumship, it's all connected. Everything is spiritual. So that's what I do. I help people connect to their soul, pull back all the patterns and all the false illusions that are not themselves.
Mm-hmm. What's one tool that you would work with someone to start pulling this information so they could do a deeper dive on what was going on in their lives?
Yeah, well, when I used to do more long-term coaching, I would just talk to them. And I feel like you can find out a lot by just talking to people and asking them, what are they afraid of? And then kind of just have this tool of going in deeper and asking them and kind of getting to the root. And I could see a lot of people's blocks. It's just a thing. So I would just talk to them. And I think that a lot of this might sound funny, but I don't think a lot of people are really used to actually just connecting to their heart and being vulnerable and speaking from that place, because you could actually find out a lot from there. So that's something that anyone can do.
That's so profound. You said before that at one point, spirit or source was putting information into you.
Oh, yeah.
And I wonder if for the audience, because that makes sense to me, I have this deep belief of interconnectedness. Whether you want to look that from an elemental chart, we can show where elements are have allowed the human body to transport oxygen to cells that was never on the planet, that's been infused from the stars into each human body. And we could look at this, we can say we're all one and we're all connected, and we can pull this information without having to read it from a book. But what does that mean to you? Like, what is it? Give me an example of you getting a spiritual download or information where it's just pow.
They just happen all day long. And here's the thing, they actually happen to everyone all day long, but most people are not aware of it. And they think it's their own thoughts. But most of the thoughts in our head are either we're picking up from the collective energy, or we're being guided to other people. So it's just all the time, like go right, don't go left, don't go there, wait here, don't talk to that person. I mean, those things, we get them all the time. They happen all day long. And again, I want people that are listening this to realize that most of the thoughts that you think you're thinking are not actually yours, because we're sponges, where it's like tentacles, everything is connected. So we're actually picking up on other people's stuff. So if like you're around someone that has a lot of fear, you're going to start feeling that in your body, and you're going to start taking on those thoughts as your own.
What about programming? Do you work with people as far as moving through some of these original programs that are laid down in early life that aren't necessarily, again, original idea, but it's something that we picked up from observing behavior?
Absolutely. I don't do the coaching like I did before, but this is very important. I mean, most of what we pick up on is our programming from our family, for better or for worse. Mm-hmm. And so we have to work through that. I mean, honestly, from 0 to 7, we're already set. We're programmed. So it doesn't mean we have to stay there. It doesn't mean that that's our truth for now and forever. It's just until we work at it, it's like you're going to go on that trajectory until you disrupt that pattern and you make a detour.
Yeah. Now you have my birth details, correct?
Yeah.
Can we play the game of picking apart Freddie for a second?
Oh, absolutely.
My birthday.
And listen, there's so much to say. Do you have any specific questions, or you just want me to start looking at
a couple things here and there? We'll see.
Okay.
If I'm sure my mother will be listening intently to see how these pop forward as truths.
Yeah. Well, what's really beautiful right off the bat, you have something called a grand trine. And so that is a triangle. So it's connected to 3 or more planets. And it's in the same element. And so when you see that, it's a nice flow of energy. So it's an ease. So sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes in the chart, unless something is at odds with each other, we don't really know about it. Sometimes a grand trine can come so easily to us that we don't use it to our full advantage, but it is a gift. Now, I would say you do know this because of what you're doing, but also because it's connected to another triangle. So it's actually shaped, it's a triangle into another triangle. It looks like a kite. So that gives you a nice strong energy. So you have a grand trine in air, and that's all about ideas. So ideas, information, sharing, talking, speaking, that is actually one of your gifts in this lifetime. And you are a major idea person. Like, you're the kind of person that you would go to a company and consult with them and just be like, I don't want to actually do it, but I'm just going to give you all the ideas. And this is how we need to talk it out. This is how, okay, I'm going to leave you and then go on to something else.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, because
that's what I do.
Yeah, oh, that's what you do. That's great.
I mean, it's been a thing in the last, especially the last 18 months, as I've branched into doing my own thing and having a speaking platform. When I look at somebody else's business model or product and ask me, what do you think? Does it work?
Yeah.
What do you think about the effects on the body? And I'll be like, you should do this. You got to talk to this person. You got to go over here and you got to get that. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing this for like 3 or 4 companies right now and just helping them bring something that can move health and wellness, move the human race forward, because I can history, I've tried most of the things or energy movers or techniques, what have you, to help move the body into wellness. And then you get like this really strong barometer. You're like, yes, this nails it. Or this is lacking in these 2 pieces, and here's what you need to do. So that's like a 10 out of 10. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this is what I tell people. I would not be doing astrology if it wasn't accurate, because honestly, I wouldn't be wasting my time. It's my reputation. And why would I be doing something that's, fake? So sometimes people don't always, recognize things I say in the chart, but they grow into it later. So that's why I know astrology is real. It just depends on how we use it, because we have a lot of free will as well. Okay. So, but I will say that grand trine is connected to your moon and Neptune in Sagittarius in the 5th house. So what basically that would show me is Sagittarius energy is all about truth and wisdom and knowledge and information. And because that grand trine is connected to it, it's like the apex. So it's pointing to it. So all this pressure in a good way is going towards it. So in the 5th house, it's creative self-expression, and it's your moon and Neptune. So you have to share your truth. Like, there's no tomorrow. You have to share your truth. Like, that's not, if you're not doing that, you will be sick. You will not be in alignment. It's not right. Like, as a moon in Sagittarius, first of all, you need your freedom. So let's just talk about that. But you need some freedom. But it's very, very important. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, let's talk about relationships.
Okay,
I
let's
don't actually know your situation, so this is just so everyone knows. I have no idea your situation.
We've not talked about life at all.
No. So, but as I was saying that, Spirit's like, look to 7th house. And so here's the thing. Your chart ruler is the sun for you, because you're a Leo rising. Let me back up for a second. Your rising sign is basically how you move through life. It's like the car you drive. It's the glasses you wear. So when you approach people or you approach a situation, you're going to do it through that flavor. So for you, it's a Leo, and that is about fun and creativity. And it's like, here I am, right? Like, I want to share. It's bold. It's not like I'm hiding in a corner and I don't want to be seen. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's Leo. So, and Leo is a leader, it's the lion, it's the king of the jungle. So it's like, has that pride to it, but it's like, you're going to do a good job. You're going to lead. You're going to be the man or the woman, whatever it is, and just do whatever it is that you do, like, do it with pride. Okay. So your chart, the planet that's connected to that is the sun, and your sun is in Aquarius in the 7th house. So a couple of things. The 7th house is about relationships, one-to-one relationships, whether it's romantic or like clients or with people. So because it's your chart ruler, I know that a lot of your focus is going to be geared towards connecting with people in some respect. And you're in Aquarius. So Aquarius loves talking with people from all walks of life, all over. Sometimes the issue with people that have strong Aquarius in their chart is it's like they're great with people when it's not personal, but then on a personal level, it might be something to work on, right? Because it's different. It's like, I can connect with everyone and we can bring everyone together, but like, my feelings, what are that, right? So sometimes that could be. Now, so I know relationships are important to you, but the other interesting thing is you have your South Node you have your south node in Aries. Okay. And so I have that as well. A south node is basically your deeply ingrained behavioral patterns. So in a way, in a nutshell, the south node is almost like having another sun sign, because yes, you're an Aquarius and you've probably looked that stuff up and probably said yes or no to some things to see if you were an Aquarius. Mm-hmm. But our south node is our deeply ingrained behavioral patterns. So it's what we do even before we get to that sun sign in a way, because we're growing into that sun sign. So you are a south node in Aries. So it means you actually have a lot of Aries energy. And Aries is like quick to start, jump the gun, initiate things. It's in the 9th house of freedom and travel and spirituality. So you've actually come from a lifetime of speaking about this stuff, and you're here to share that again. Okay. Now the key for you key for everyone is to take the positive and the beautiful aspects of our south node, which is that independence and that empowerment. And that's why I really love empowering women, because for me, that's easy. I'm like, I don't know, like that's super easy. I could be independent, but a lot of, I say women because that's mainly my following. And I help them empower them because I'm like, oh my God, girl, get on the plane, do this, go what you want, because that's my gift. Okay. So for Aries, you have that empowerment, do it yourself. Now, where the south node gets in trouble is if we're too wrapped up into this, and especially with Aries, it becomes this bubble. And I do this all the time too. It's like, I forget that there are people around. I forget that I have to ask questions. Now, yours might not be as extreme as mine because you have other elements in your chart. But with Aries, it could be like we get a little too wrapped up in our own stuff and our own selfishness, it becomes that bubble. So what you're learning in this lifetime, you have a north node in Libra. So your journey throughout life is to move in this direction. It's a vibration of Libra. And the north node is one of the main reasons why our soul incarnated. I mean, the whole chart is, but that north node in Libra talks about why your soul said you need to be here. What are the reasons of this is the vibration that you need to learn, okay? So your north node is in Libra. Libra is about relationships. So you are learning relationships. And then when I look at your ruler of the north node, it's in your 7th house of relationships. So there might have been, it just depends on where we're at in life, of this push-pull of relationships, but single, because you have a lot of single stuff that wants freedom, but then you have a lot moving towards relationships. So it's like this balance of finding both.
Yeah. Wow. Anybody who's listening to this podcast who knows me well,
and I don't know you. I don't know.
They're going to be laughing the whole time because you're pretty much like 99.9%. And I would say, especially through, oh goodness, and a lot of my ability to, a lot of my drive towards being the sovereign island has come from going through cancer, has been coming from going through Lyme and being really, really sick and knowing I know exactly how to take care of myself when it's me, and I don't have to worry about anybody worrying for me. So if I do that, at least I know I'm safe. I've got the mission at hand. Nobody else has to hurt alongside while I'm hurting like I'm hurting. Mm-hmm. And that's been and then I would say in the last 18 months, with letting myself follow my true heart's calling to start a podcast, to do, some of these things where I put myself out there on a speaking platform, it's opened up areas of my vulnerability, my ability to say I love you, my ability to be, expressive with my feelings where, oh my goodness, even 4 years back, you can ask some of my two big relationships who have been amazing, loving, dynamic women, that was very hard for me to express even a little bit of what I was feeling, especially towards them. But then they would watch me be the social Aquarian and be out and be so loving and giving with strangers and I can help you. And then
very different when it's intimate. Yeah. Yes.
So different. But I'm aware of that now and observing it and seeing where that doesn't necessarily serve everybody.
Yes.
I feel like that's out the door pretty much.
And that I'm glad you said that, because that's what I want people to understand. Your birth chart has a range of about 10 million different frequencies that we can embody. And so it's our job to understand the shadow energy and then move into the higher octave and the higher expression of it. And that's what we do through life. So we're not oh, I'm a Taurus. That just means I'm stubborn and I'm not going to change. Well, that's your free will and that's your consciousness level that someone's choosing. Or you can be I'm aware that I'm a Taurus, which I am, and I'm stubborn. So I'm going to watch that and see where it's hindering my growth and try to do things to help me move through that. Right. So we're not stuck. We're not just like, I'm a Taurus, and that's why I'm like this, and I'm not going to change. Right. We have free will, and there is a huge range of possibilities within each frequency, which is each planet.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the individual frequencies and vibrations in each person. Because I often say, and my friend Jordan says this, that frequency is the language of the universe.
It is.
And we can look at that from a quantum physics standpoint, and I can show you how different elements have a different vibratory pattern, and even different organs and organ systems have a different vibration. What does that mean to you, the embodiment of frequency in a body or a spirit body?
Well, I actually feel like we come into this life, like everyone thinks that we come into this life so pure and we're angels. I think our hearts are very open, but I don't think that we're pure, because I think we have karma and energy in past lives, so in our programming in our DNA and in our cells. So that already is a frequency. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't know if to answer your question, but I feel like we bring that in. So everyone has different traumas, different energies, and then what we learn from our family, whether it was good or bad, good or bad. And then all that results in a frequency. So then the chart has its own frequency as well. But unless we are a pure channel and constantly doing the work, I don't know if we actually live up to our chart. But that's the idea, is that we chose this time and this pattern, energetic pattern, for a reason, because this is going to be the vibration that's going to help us live our highest potential in this lifetime.
That's beautiful.
I don't know if I answered your question, but
you did. Yeah. What does it mean to you to do the work? People talk about that all the time, whether it's, well, you owe yourself a level of nutrition you're going to put into the pyramid. You owe yourself a certain amount of self-reflection. Maybe it's a certain amount of working on the temple, which is the body. What does it mean to you to do the work?
For me, it's funny because in a way I basically, like, without realizing it, I built my life and business around me. So South Node and Aries. But because I'm so passionate about, if I don't take care of myself, I'm not going to be good for anyone else. And so I feel like that's a beautiful example for everyone. But I'm constantly, first of all, I'm a Taurus with a Cancer moon, so I like my comfort. There's no denying it. And so I am the queen of self-care. So whether it's, taking care of my physical body, taking care of my emotions, I'm very tuned in with my emotions. And I'm always constantly checking in, just if we're being very honest, the Kobe tragic accident that just happened, that really shook me up. And not only was I feeling my own stuff personally, but I'm so sensitive that I'm feeling the collective energy as well. And I don't even know where I was going with that. I'm sorry, but basically, like, I've so connected in to my feelings that I help other people with that as well. I lost my train of thought.
No, we were saying on how do you, what is the work to you? And you started to talk about your ability to be this just extreme barometer to what's going on in the environment.
So that's the work to me, is constantly checking in. Am I happy? Do I want to do this? Do I want to be around this person? Why? Okay, they just triggered me. What is it that I still need to work on? Why are they triggering me? Why am I so bothered by this? Why am I feeling sad today? Maybe I journal it out. Maybe I talk to a friend. Maybe I, just sit with myself. I'm constantly in communication with my soul. And that's why I teach people, is to connect with your soul. I am very much on purpose and very in alignment. And I feel like you get there by truthfully spending time alone. Now, I'm not saying that everyone needs to sit in a cave, because we're here to interact with people and it's very important. But I do believe that we have to pull back sometimes, and we have to be with ourselves, and we have to listen. And the more you listen, the more you hear, really, of your soul.
What are some of your favorite things to do for self-care that retune the instrument? Oh
my God. Salt bath. I basically take a salt bath almost every day. Salt bath I've been wearing more crystals lately because I'm even getting more sensitive. So that's helping me. Really, one of the most important things is listening to my body. So I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, just suck it up and just go to the gym. Like, listen, I am very driven. I built a business from nothing. So I have a strong left brain analytical. So I'm very dedicated to my goals. But at the same time, especially after being sick for a while, if my body is telling me no, I'm going to 100% listen. And I think that's actually the best self-care tool that we can have, is by listening to our soul. Maybe I need to stay in bed. There's been lately, I'm going through a transit, and it totally makes sense for how I feel. There's some times when I cannot get out of bed. I'm awake at like 6:37 in the morning, but my body is exhausted right now. So I'll work from my bed. And I built the lifestyle where I can do that. So it's okay. But some people are like, oh, you can't be in your pajamas all day and it's noon. Really? I just got everything done and I need to listen to my body. So the best self-care tool is listening to what your body needs and not judging it. And everyone just feels a lot of people feel a lot of shame. We're like, oh, I didn't do this, or, and I'm like, but why? Who cares? The only one judging you is yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
We can change jobs, locations, and cities. Yeah. And then, within a week or two, the newness is going to wear away and you're going to be stuck with your inner self-talk. I want to ask you, what do you think about, it's interesting. We have all these, you have your tools that you use to look at what's coming in for this race, this human race, right? We've got all these patterns. Is there any validity to the idea that, it seems like everybody's got this something chronically wrong with them, like chronic illness, long-term illness is big. Just people, if you ask 10 people in a room, are you well? Do you feel really good? There's not a lot of people that are going to be like, yeah, I'm great. Nothing wrong. That's a rarity. How have the stars, how the sky, how the moon, how have they called this situation we're in right now?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I think some of it is what we're doing to the planet. And we are still energy beings and we are sensitive beings, even if there's these men that are macho and they just don't think, they're still energy beings. They're just kind of numb to it, or women too, whoever that is,
Mm-hmm.
But we are sensitive beings. And so we're putting chemicals in our food and we're eating those. And then we're thinking that we're going to be healthy. And then, don't even get me started on vaccines and the metals that are in there. And then we go to, the 5G and all the radiation, even before 5G, just radiation everywhere. My router's here, my phone's here, my thing's here, so our bodies, I know our bodies evolve, but that's a lot on our bodies and our frequency. So I think we have that one layer that we're doing. Mm-hmm. And then we have emotional trauma. So our old pain is stored in our body and it's coming up. And the reason why I think it's coming up more is because we are ascending a lot quicker. And I was even thinking about this, I think it was yesterday morning. I'm like, I made a post, I wrote it down on my phone that I have to share. And it was something along the lines of, we've always been ascending. We are going at a quicker rate because we can see the Schumann resonance is stronger. We're seeing everything is amplified, but we are, so we've always been ascending, but we're going at a quicker rate because we have a lot of work to do and we're becoming more conscious. So I think it's that it's coming in quicker and we're becoming more awake. I look at my parents' generation, God bless them. For the most part, that generation is not as awake. And I don't mean to be rude. I'm just being honest. It's not as awake as the children that are being born now. 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds being like, I'm gay or I want to become a woman or being super in tune and psychic and telling their parents, no, you need to do this, this, and this because you're not doing this. We're so connected now. We just know. So it's a huge gap, right? So we're moving a lot quicker and thank God for that because we need help. We can't keep going at the same rate. Yeah. So that was my tangent for that answer.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I feel that's true. There is a vibration that's kind of awakening within the world right now. And I think we're aware of it. And then, like you said, there's elements of, what is the planet saying? What's the planet speaking to us? What's happening in Australia right now? What's happening to the polar ice caps? It's really profound. Miami, they're like, my friend was talking about buying property in Miami. I'm like, Miami's underwater in 10 years. Yeah. No joke. They have no plan for it.
Yeah.
No plan at all. We're going to have some massive changes here to the world that we're living in. And it's something that we have to have ears up. But there's amazing humans out there. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's effectively cleaning up the ocean section of plastic. Like he's going to have it done in like 5 years. And they thought initially when they discovered this, it's like this mass collection of plastic. It's like a floating island. They thought it would be, I don't know, 50 years, 100 years to even be able to clean it up. And he's going to have it done in like 4.
Wow.
There's people really, applying themselves, listening to the heart, taking action, making a plan, kicking ass, taking names.
They're listening to their mission.
Listening to the mission. That's so important. I know everybody, and I'm sure you experience this too. People come to you and they're like, Freddie, what do I do? What do I take? What's the supplement? What's the machine? What's the thing and I'm like, it's not about the thing.
Right.
It's not about the thing.
There's so much more that needs to change than just popping that supplement.
It is. And if you think about the vibration of a dead powder and a pill of gelatin from an animal that was probably like caged out of sadness, I'm like, the whole supplement thing is problematic for me on an energy level. I
used to take so many supplements. I think we all have when we've gone through this, and you just want anything to help because you don't want to be in the pain and it's so much, right? But the better I get and the more I'm evolving constantly, I'm literally not even taking that many supplements anymore because the vibration is not matching up, and it is a frequency thing. And we are moving to that where it's all frequency and sound healing. I think is going to be, it's around. It's not like I'm saying something that's new, but it is going to be the future for sure for healing people in different ways. And that's actually very Uranus in Taurus too, changing things, shaking things up. So you can see when the outer planets move through signs, they go very slowly. So they make huge waves. And so it's long journey. But Uranus and Taurus is all about shaking that up. Also cleaning up the planet, making massive changes to Mother Earth, because Taurus is Earth, body, Mother Nature. So, and Uranus is all about the metaphysical and disrupting the patterns in the financial system as well. So there's a lot with that.
Wow. Let's pivot for a second, because you said you're taking less supplements.
Yeah.
You mentioned your pain. Tell us about your pain if you'll be that open with the audience.
In terms of like physical or?
Yeah, I don't know. You mentioned your pain. You can reference anything you want. What's going on in Danielle's world?
Oh, I don't even know what I said before. But in terms of, I did have Lyme. Now here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did have it, maybe have it. Is it dormant? I don't think anyone knows. Does it go away? Does it stay dormant? In reference to that, it's Lyme because that's what we on Earth classify it as. But I don't even believe that that's what it is. Really, what I think it is again, your old stuff coming up to be cleared because your body needs to for where it's going. But it's also ascension. It's also new codes coming in. It's also new downloads. And if you look at the people that are getting Lyme or have Lyme, they have something very important to do. Now, I don't want people to think, oh, so I don't have Lyme, I'm not important. No, it's just different messages and different ways of sharing information. And we're being used differently. I think our bodies are very psychically open and sensitive. I also think we're mirrors for the collective. So I think that people need to look at it because we're being used and we're all important. We're all here for a reason. We're just being used in different ways. I've learned that I am connected to the universal grid. And even when, as far as someone who did a channeling for me, this is from her, this part's not from me, but she told me I'm a grid worker. And so that's why I pick up on collective energy very strongly. And I've been observing the people that get Lyme. They're very in tune with collective energy. And so we're here to be guides for a lot of people.
I never remembered getting bit by a tick.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I did. Upstate New York, Rochester, just like playing in like the woods. I rolled in the woods all day long. That was just what you did. But when I moved to New York City, it was like the month after 9/11, and I'll never forget like walking around, and I did not know I was an empath, but I would walk around and like, look for a job or go on auditions and just be around the people. And there's, mind you, like the southern tip of the island is still smoking.
Yeah.
And just being out around the people all day, I would come home and I would just like get in the shower and the water would hit me. I would cry. Yeah. I would lay on the floor of the tub until the water would go cold. And that just happened all day, every day. And I wasn't planning to go in the shower and cry. I wasn't like, oh, I need to get home and release. It would just hit me in that moment when I got in the water, Aquarius. Mm-hmm. And
well, Aquarius is a water bearer, but it's an air sign.
Yeah.
It's not water.
So what's that mean for me?
It's an air sign, but hold on. Do you have water is important because water is cleansing anyways. Your Mars is in water. Mm-hmm. So that's really important.
Okay.
Your Mars is in Cancer.
Well, this pattern went on until I woke up one morning with this incredible joint pain. Like it was like I went to bed fine and I woke up. Like, you know, it was like flipping a switch.
Yeah.
You know, there was no like bug bite or a rash or anything like that.
It could have been 15 years ago and been dormant in your body. And then the trauma of this brought it up and it was time for your soul to move through. That's why we have no idea what happens. Yeah,
exactly. And it's from the spectrum of people that I speak to today, which are I talk to many people with autoimmune, Lyme, lupus, pandas, chronic infections. It's never the one bug. You know, you have Epstein-Barr, you have a dental infection, you have heavy metals, you have sexual trauma, and like the conglomeration of these has caused like this perfect storm in your body where you're feeling the pressure, you know, to move, to break into a butterfly, whatever, you know, or you're the victim who has been like thrust on chronic disease. It just depends on how you want to choose to.
Right. And I think everyone goes through that all phases at some point, you know, because it's confusing and nobody knows what's going on. And at least, thank God, there's people like you sharing about this now to help other people, because I knew nothing about nutrition before I got into this, like nothing. And so now I'm like, oh my God, I can't even believe, like, take this herb, this does this. Like, you just learn along the way. So we need to share this information for people that don't know, and then they'll learn.
Yeah, I joke all the time. Like, people are like, oh, you must have done so much when you're going through your cancer journey to nourish your body with this high level food. And I was like, wow. No. I was going to McDonald's before chemo for the McBiscuit morning sandwich, which was just like amazing, and hash browns and like a Coca-Cola and an orange juice. And it just wasn't part of the,
it wasn't part of your consciousness yet.
No. And I was in great shape. You know, I was like, oh, I'm ripped. I'm like, I'm good. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, if you're, you know, if you've got the facility and your body is like expressing itself in a positive way and you can do all the good things, and it doesn't, health food's like overrated. But then, you know, when you're compromised and you see how much your meal can move the needle and change like your brain fog for the second half of the day, or like, you know, even like I'm really into fasting right now. I'm into this one meal a day, like spend like 33 days, 34 days, something like that. And it's great once you get over, you know, once you balance out the blood sugar. It's fascinating how your brain works, because your brain really jumps into like this 12th state of operation, word recall, exactly how you want to express yourself. But if I eat a bowl even of like brown, I make this wonderful like recipe of like brown rice goat mac and cheese that I've been making lately, which is incredible. But if I eat it, I feel stupid for a couple hours. I
can't even express enough to back up what you said is so true. And everything that we put in our digestive tract is completely connected to our brain. Because when I was at my sickest, like if I would eat things and I wouldn't, I'm just going to be honest, wouldn't go to the bathroom, I could not think. I was so, you know, and so the minute you release that, it was almost like all of a sudden this clarity. And that's how in tune I was with my body. And I couldn't even believe this. Like all this stuff I didn't read in a book. It was that I experienced it in my body myself, you know? So yes, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I know. Coffee enemas for the win. That's all I have to say.
Oh yeah. You know, I haven't done a coffee enema because caffeine affects me so much. So I'm just afraid that like I don't feel like I need anything like that in my body, because I can't even handle any caffeine.
Well, the theory is there's very low absorption of caffeine into the system. It's more about stimulating the portal vein, from what you would read on coffee enemas, that opens up these ducts in the liver and allows bile to dump from the gallbladder, and you get a release of toxins.
Which would be amazing. And I want to do it.
Yeah.
But
and I'll tell you, when I was really, really, really sick with fatigue, I couldn't handle the caffeine. I was overstimulating for me from the coffee enema. Now I could do it and I go right to bed.
Wow. Okay.
It's so,
You had
amazing.
You had a backup of stuff in there probably.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But it's amazing how the body changes.
Oh yeah.
How it responds from information to the environment. You know, all these doctors, I remember when I first met doctors, some of the best practitioners were like, they're like, you don't need that supplement. You don't need that supplement. You don't need that. And I'm like, so I'm throwing them away. They're like, don't throw them away because in a year, it might resonate with your body. It might be the proper way in for new information, but you've got to wait because you're going to change. You're going to shift. Can I ask you what some of the big things were that helped you feel better, think more clearly?
I have to say for me, it's seen everything with my digestion. So at my sickest, when I was desperate and I had no idea and I was like done with Western medicine and they wanted to put me on antibiotics and something in me just kept saying no. My parents were like, you need to take a pill and just get better. And I was like, no, that's not at all what I want to do. And I was basically alone, just doing my thing. And I'm like, this is my choice and I would love for you to support me. But if you don't, that's fine. But this is where I'm going. I went and got Panchakarma, which is Ayurvedic. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Yeah. So I went there for a week, this place in LA, and they do lymphatic massages with oils that are right for your body, right? They look at your tongue to see that from your tongue, they can tell everything. And she saw me and it was like, girl, just sit down. And it was a mess. I mean, I have to say, I was so sick before that. But since I got enemas every single day for a week, that was the game changer. And I stopped getting the flu. It wasn't the flu, but it was like as if you had the flu. I kept getting it over and over again, about 7 times in a row. I mean, we're talking the flu that people go to the hospital for. I got about 7 times in a row when I first started this. And then I learned the enemas changed my life. And it still didn't understand how, because I didn't know enough about the body. But as I'm seeing, like going to the bathroom is literally like, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it's the best. Like that's going to heal everyone. You need to get the toxins out of your body. Like we're machines. We put stuff in and we don't have enough coming out. So what do you think it's going to do? And then when we have other bugs in there, they populate we got to get the stuff out.
Even the lymphatic, there's a program on Ampcoil for the lymphatic system. And it's so often that people have they could have eliminated a majority of the Lyme in their body, but it's sloshing around in that lymphatic drainage pathway back and forth. And the body doesn't have the mobility or the up and down or the gyration to move it out of the lymphatics.
Yep. And that's what my problem was. Even this summer, I've been, okay from the Lyme, but it left a residue of a lot of my body was out of balance. And I'm petite, I'm 5'1", like smaller frame, and my body was holding so much weight. And I would look in the mirror and I'm like, this is not me. And I'm eating so healthy and I wouldn't understand. And then, it was like I was blowing up to the point where it was hard to look at myself because I was unrecognizable. My face was getting puffy. And then I started getting lymphatic massage. And what I would see the next day or even after, it looked like I have pictures of within 12 hours, it looks like 2 different people. Mm-hmm. And that's because everything was just getting stuck and expanding, and my body is so sensitive and you can see it in my body. So between that, like you said, the lymphatic and the digestion, you have to get it out. Have to get it out. There's no question. I mean, I could talk about this stuff all day long because it's so important. And even doctors are like, no, there's no scientific proof that colonics or enemas are good for you. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I would have been sick still if I listened to like a lot of things that they said to me.
Yeah. I mention it to so many people, I talk about it, depending on who you talk to, like a simple coffee enema at home. Like if you're chronically ill and you don't have a lot of money to throw around, we're talking about a low price point game changer, but you gotta, I'm just going to give everybody's different. The water temperature, the coffee bean, the roast, it's going to matter. So you might have to play around a little bit till you find the secret sauce that works for your body. But when you do, I can't rave about it enough. And I just went on a ski vacation. I was like, I was like joking with my friends. I'm like, I'm going to be in the bathroom for a little bit. I made a cup of coffee. They're like, can I get coffee? And I'm like, no, you don't want this coffee.
Yeah. Yep. No,
Yeah.
it's so I do chamomile enemas
Yeah.
enemas because they're more gentle and I'm very
Super
sensitive.
healing for the intestine.
Yes. Yeah. So I do
Super healing for the
chamomile ones.
intestine. And
Yeah.
I had done all the wacky do ones like the ozone rectal insufflations and the chamomile tea and the castor oil packs. And, I've just found that whatever you need to get that organ and organ system moving,
Yeah.
it's so important to the body. And, yes, you should be able to do that with thought and meditation, but sometimes you need a kickstart.
Yeah. I think that we technically are able to heal ourselves with that, but I don't know if all of us, and at the level we're at, we know how to do that. So I don't want to limit us by saying we can't, but I don't know if we know how to do that with just thought. Not everyone,
I know we can, and I know it's about it's how deep can you go into the communication of yourselves and change your state. And that's a skill that you have to develop. And if you're working on it every day, great. That's great for you. Magical. But if you're finding yourself in this position where, you feel thrust upon by the world, this general level of toxicity, EMF, heavy metals, environmental stress, emotional trauma, and your body just won't kickstart on, you might need to go back in like a more mechanical route to get started. There's no right or wrong way. It's like whatever works for you and your body.
Yep, absolutely.
Firm believer.
And I love that you brought up enemas because they're so important. And I do want to try a coffee one, but I just am nervous about the caffeine situation.
Yeah, I think I've done decaf ones before. I think to get started, I did like a 1/4 teaspoon of regular coffee and then decaf, and I think it still did a great job. But it's just something that, but you're going to find other things. Yeah, coffee enemas are great, but there's other low cost, really cheap ways. Sweating, find a spot to sweat like you're being chased by the police.
Sauna. Yeah, like go to a sauna for sure.
Yeah, it's so important. Danielle, what other things have you tried? Any funky, like transformational tech things, any energy things that you've loved in your world? Any red lights, anything like that?
I did try the amp coil.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And that was great. I only did that once. And I am looking into investing in that because I think that would be smart for my journey. I wouldn't even know how to describe an amp coil or wouldn't even do it justice. So I'm not even going to try. So that's all you, if you want to talk about that, because I can't even.
Yeah. Once in a while we get into it. It's an amplifier that drives energy through an electromagnetic coil, which is it looks like a modified Tesla coil. It's actually called an air coil, the way it's wrapped. And you set that on the body and it generates a pulsed electromagnetic field, washes the body. And then there's a tablet that runs pre-programmed sound journeys. So like an iPad, it's actually a Samsung tablet, there's 30 or 40 journeys and you just push play and you get this 33-minute song, 60-minute song, these frequencies that are rising and falling with different power sent into the body, into all the energetic systems, and you have energy move. And you can do journeys for tendon health, for bone health, for digestion. But it's split right down the middle. So there's like journeys that are rejuvenating. And I tell people that's like putting air into a tire with a hole in it. And that's great. You can put air into a tire with a hole in it. But eventually you got to pull out the nail. And so eventually you're going to move into journeys that are help detoxify, help the body balance this frequencies that are distorted from microbes, metals, and toxins. So that's like pulling the nail out. And from that dance of pushing air in and pulling out of the nail, eventually the body is going to move forward. It's just like, and they're like, sound therapy, song into the body. How's that going to make my health get better? Well, it's just sending information. It's like 2 tuning forks. You strike one, you keep striking it. If you have another one over here tuned to the same note, it's going to start to sing. It picks up that vibration, right? And if frequency is the language of the universe, we can see how the body can start to pick up these resonant frequencies that vibrate on the good level. It's such an exciting thing. There's so many cool things. I talked about this one time before. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. It's like this is like going to be like 54. But there's a publicly traded company called Novacure out there who is in their phase 3 clinical trials for brain cancer and small cell lung cancer using frequencies delivered through the body. Totally different delivery method, but they're wearing a battery pack all day. They're wearing a cap on their head or a cap on their lungs. And there's people that were like, you have like a year, you have 13 months. They're still alive 5-6 years later. They've had some great results without the damaging effects of the chemotherapy. So I know people in trials right now for glioblastoma.
That's amazing that they're doing that.
Yeah, frequency, sound. It's like we saw this stuff on Star Trek. It sounded like a television show. And there's a lot of things from that show that have come into the material world.
Oh, yeah. The collective wasn't ready for it. And so we dismiss a lot of things as fluff, as woo-woo, as silly when it's already there, But what you were saying about frequency real fast, I just wanted to add to that is that, Lyme, Epstein-Barr cancer, everything has a vibration and a frequency. And so when we're sick, it's because our body is going down to that frequency of that vibration, and we got to bring it up again. I mean, that's like the most simple way you can put it.
It's simple. And it's also like, if you want to look at it as charge, like every cell has a charge. It's an electromagnetic system before it's a chemical one. And they always, I point to the example of like, how many times have you heard of like, the heart is a great example. It's got like a charge of like 120 millivolts or like 140 or something like that. And I'm like, how many times do we hear of cancer of the heart? You don't, because that heart holds such a charge of all the work that it's doing. So if you can think about how to keep cellular voltage charge, if you can keep that high in other areas, the idea around a tumor having a low voltage is because think about it. If each cell has a positive charge on the outside and it loses that charge, it's not going to repel other cells. So you're going to get a clump, you're going to get a mass in that tissue. So it's like there's a very cool book out there called Healing as Voltage. There's one called The Body Electric. They all measure charge in different ways. And there's a company in Germany who can measure the charge of individual cells. This is another big question. They're like, how do you know what frequencies are what? Well, people get them different ways. Some people dowse. They ask source. They do have measurement devices in these fancy German labs. But it's going to be a thing. It's not going to be like a woo-woo thing. You'll have an opportunity to go change your vibration on some type of transformational tech in the near future. I'm a firm believer of that.
Yep.
I see it.
It's in Taurus. It's going to happen. It's already there. We have about 6 more years of that moving through. So yeah.
I know. I feel that really, really strongly. I would ask this. I want to be respectful of your time, and we're like almost to an hour. Time flies when you're having good conversations.
I love it.
I know. I love it too. What would be somebody's stuck out there and they're trying to find their path, they're trying to find their voice and tap into the heart, like you said, and try to find this resonance of where do I go next? What is your advice for someone? It can be related to astrology or not. Where would you tell them to look on where to go forward, where to look for kind of these essential clues or answers from the body?
I think one of the most simple things that people can do, it's nothing to do with astrology. Every morning, get up, place your hand on your heart, take some deep breaths, and tune in. And I want people to look at their heart as if it's their inner child or a little boy or a little girl, right, if they had one, and ask their heart how he or she feels. And just pause. And don't get like the answer that your head wants to give you right away, because the head just is like, oh, this, that, but actually wait. And maybe the answer is I'm scared, or maybe I'm angry, or I'm hurt. And when you acknowledge your heart and say, okay, thank you, or I'm sorry, without justifying it, or, well, that's because of this, or you shouldn't do this, right? So the minute you actually allow that emotion to come up and you start building that relationship with your heart, and then you ask your heart what he or she needs in this moment. Maybe it's a phone call with a friend. Maybe it's walk outside. Maybe it's to be alone. Maybe it's a new job, whatever it is. If you do that every day, multiple times throughout the day, you're going to build a beautiful relationship with your heart, and that's going to increase your magnetic field already. So it's so simple, but it's profound at the same time. I mean, that's over anything I've done. It's just you and your heart building that connection and listening.
And how can people get more gold nuggets of truth and guidance from Danielle Paige? Where do they go?
They can follow me on Instagram at I am Danielle Paige. It's Paige. or you can go to my website, daniellepage.com. I also have a podcast, Cosmic Body Podcast, because we're cosmic bodies. And I do retreats and online courses and monthly moon circles and readings and a bunch of stuff.
So amazing. Okay, I have 2 more questions for you. What does it mean? So we're on the Beautifully Broken podcast. What does it mean to you to be beautifully broken?
To be real and to be whole, because this human journey has lots of ebbs and flows. So I think actually being beautifully broken is being very vulnerable and truthful with yourself. That's
amazing. And if you wouldn't share with the audience, what are one of your big dreams that you're trying to manifest for 2020?
I will say that, I'll share this here. I am calling in the right partner. So not just any partner. I think we have opportunities for relationships all the time, and there are many different kinds of relationships, and that are all beautiful. But I'm calling in my life partner, whether that means we're in this commitment for a short time or a long time, I don't know. And that's really not for me to judge, but I'm calling in the right vibrational match for me to grow and to learn and to have this beautiful, intimate relationship with.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It makes me think about when we got on the podcast, we were just talking about, you being so tapped into the collective, into the grid, and this Kobe Bryant passing yesterday. And, beautiful human being, arguably one of the best athletes in the world, one of the best basketball players of all time, wonderful humanitarian. But he was a father and he was a husband, and to watch someone be part of a family unit and that change so quickly. I think it was very interesting, like watching everybody's reaction to that yesterday, and seeing how quickly things can change and shift. And oh my goodness, it doesn't matter. You can have all the millions of dollars in the world. Yep. And it can just change so quickly.
And I think that's probably one of his purposes here. He was obviously a very enlightened being in different ways, and gifted and talented beyond most of us, right? We'll never aspire to that, never have his talent. So he had this, I don't put anyone on a pedestal, but it was almost like this godlike figure. So he's obviously here to teach the world many things. And I think that in itself was part of the lesson, because I felt after this, and I used to be a basketball fan many, many years ago, but I just haven't followed it for many years. So it's not like I was his biggest fan like many other people, but even this, it broke down walls in my heart, and it softened me, and it brought a level of compassion that was probably a little buried under just being busy, under being annoyed at, life, right? So it kind of brought us home, and it shook us, because it was a mirror to the collective of, if this can happen to this, and I'm going to say this in quotes, God-like figure, nobody is immune. And I had a talk with my friend, and he's like, what did it bring up for you? And I said, it brought up that I really need to sit down and make sure I'm really aligned with my priorities and the people that I'm around, and make sure that I'm in alignment. And I'm very in alignment with my career and what I do. And for me personally, I don't do things that I don't enjoy. However, we can always go deeper. And, if I really want to bring in a relationship in my life, am I saying it, or have I yet embodied that vibration? Have I made space in my life? Have I come to terms with some of the stuff that maybe I didn't want to deal with, right? So where am I not letting it in? And then I do believe things happen in divine timing. So I'm not going to be like, it's just me and I'm blocking it. No, I think there's many factors to everything, because that person has his own journey as well. But I could do my part. So I think it was really this beautiful thing of stepping back, breaking down a wall, that I felt that wall come down in my heart, and feeling the collective energy. We're feeling that we need to be kinder to each other. that it can go in a second, and let's get more aligned with our values. Because if we're all going to die, which we are, you might as well be doing what you like to do. Otherwise, what are you wasting your time for?
What are we wasting our time for? I know. Life is short. It's the blink of an eye. Make the most of it.
It's literally a blink of an eye. And our journey here on Earth, which it's a blip in the whole scheme of our soul's evolutionary journey. And I also want to say one last thing. Listen, this is tragic, and my heart breaks for everybody that was on the plane and the families of everyone they left behind. And Vanessa, I can't even imagine what she's feeling. That truly just breaks my heart in pieces, period. I don't want to say but, period. We also don't know anyone's soul plan. And perhaps, maybe, he was done here on Earth, and maybe he has to do work in another dimension that's even stronger. There's just, why I'm bringing that up is we just don't know. There's so many things, but that does not take away the pain of the families left behind at all. And that is horrific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, listen, this has been enlightening. I'm so thankful you were a guest on Beautifully Broken Podcast. Round 1, I feel like we're going to have to do a round 2 because we could just...
I would love that.
There's so many things we could talk about and topics. And
yeah, we'll go deeper into your chart.
Yes. Oh my God, that was amazing. But thank you for being on the show. And is there any way this audience can support you?
Oh, yeah. Well, they can support themselves and the collective by listening to the messages that Spirit is giving them. And I do share a lot on Instagram. I share a lot of free information on Instagram. So if people want to follow me there, that would be great. But it's them listening to their soul. Because the more we all work on ourselves, the better humanity is going to be. So we need to do that.
Consider that your action step, audience. Thank you for being here, Danielle. Namaste.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you made it to the end of the podcast. Now, in a world where the average attention span is less than 10 seconds, we just spent almost an hour together. And I think this is the beginning of something really beautiful. Now, one way to support the podcast is to head over to FreddieSetGo.com and check out my newly launched page, Freddie's Faves, where I've linked every 5-star product and healing modality you hear about on the show. Most offer significant discounts by clicking the link. And please know, it doesn't cost you anything extra, and at the same time, they support the show through affiliation. So, check out Freddie's Faves on FreddieSetGo.com. This episode of the Beautifully Broken podcast was brought to you by our sponsor, AmpCoil, upgrading the vibrations of hearts, minds, and bodies all over the world. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's show, head over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review. Grabbing a download is like giving this virtual thumbs up that we're doing it right. And if you want to connect with me, shoot me a message on Instagram at FreddieSetGo.com or at FreddieSetGo. That's all for today. Our closing. The world is hurting. We need you at your very best. So take the steps today to always be upgrading, whatever it takes to move the needle. Remember, while life is pain, putting those fractured pieces back together is a beautiful process. I'm your host. I love you. Namaste. Have a wonderful day.